Have you ever thought about certain objects, maybe things you own, that just seem to hold a specific kind of power or maybe influence for you?
Yeah, like a lucky charm or something sentimental.
Exactly. Or even just some random thing you feel you need to keep close. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into something quite ancient, but actually surprisingly personal. We're talking about talismans.
Yeah.
We're going on a journey to sort of understand how these objects get conceived, how they're designed, how they're given purpose, and then, how they're actually used.
And our mission here really is to pull out the key insights from our sources. We're mainly looking at Israel Regardie and also Foolish Fish. We want to cut through all the noise.
Yeah, that can be a lot.
Definitely. And give you a really clear, kind of actionable understanding of talismans. Think of it as your personalized shortcut to getting informed on this, frankly, fascinating topic.
Okay, so let's start there. What is a talisman? Our sources give some, well, really interesting definitions.
Where should we begin? Regardie.
Yeah, let's start with Regardie. He gives a foundational view. He says a talisman is basically any object, sacred or not, symbols or no symbols, that gets consecrated.
Consecrated through ritual magic or meditation.
Right, exactly. To serve a specific purpose, like bringing good luck or, helping achieve some goal. But here's what I find really interesting.
What's that?
He emphasizes it works through autosuggestion. It evokes psychospiritual stuff that's like already in the person.
Ah, okay. So it's not adding something totally new.
No, it's drawing out what's latent, what's already there.
Which connects nicely to the Golden Dawn perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regardie mentions they see it as a magical figure charged with the force which it is intended to represent.
Suggesting a direct link, a harmony with universal forces.
Which then begs the question, how is that different from an amulet? People use those terms almost interchangeably sometimes.
That's a really good point, and yeah, they do get mixed up. Regardie says an amulet is no different, save that as a charm, it is supposed to be worn for protection.
Protection against sickness, bad luck, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Witchcraft, ill fortune. But, Foolish Fish gives a slightly different angle that might be even clearer for you.
Okay, how does Foolish Fish distinguish them? Well, what's quite neat is how Foolish Fish frames it. A talisman provides energy. It gives something to the user.
Like attracting wealth.
Yeah, or maybe compensating for something lacking in your birth charts. They give the example of a venereal amulet for someone with a very Saturnian birth chart who might be prone to sadness.
Right, bringing in Venus energy to counter Saturn.
Exactly. Whereas an amulet prevents unwanted energy. It stops things from affecting you, like the classic evil eye jewelry.
Ah, so one brings in, the other keeps out.
Precisely. Talismans are about attracting or providing. Amulets are shields.
So what does that mean for the actual object itself? Can it be anything?
Seems like it. Both sources really agree on the versatility. Regardie flat out says any object.
And Foolish Fish
Takes it even further. Says it doesn't actually have to be a little round pendant. Could be any given material.
Like what?
Get this, even a ceramic rabbit or a lump of sugar.
Seriously, a lump of sugar.
Apparently. As long as it has some symbolic connection, some relation to the energy you're trying to provide or attract.
Okay, but traditionally there were specific materials, weren't there? Metals and planets?
Oh, absolutely. The Greater Key of Solomon, for example, links specific metals to planets. Silver for the moon.
Iron for Mars, gold for the sun.
Right. Tin or pewter for Jupiter, copper for Venus, lead for Saturn.
And Mercury. That was always a tricky one.
Set Mercury or brass. But again, Foolish Fish points out that you're not limited. Virgin parchment can also be used.
Or really, like you said, any kind of material if it relates to the planet being invoked.
That adaptability is key.
Okay, so you have your object. Maybe it's metal, maybe it's parchment, maybe it's a ceramic rabbit. But just having the thing isn't enough, is it? There's more to it.
Definitely not. And this leads to something really critical if you're thinking about actually making one. Exactly. Timing. Foolish Fish really stresses this. Says a talisman essentially captures the energy of a particular moment.
And that moment includes everything. Astrology, day, time.
All of it. The specific planetary alignments, the day of the week, the actual hour, even the conditions of the ritual itself. It's like taking an energetic snapshot.
Okay, so how do you figure out that perfect moment? That sounds complicated.
Well, our sources lay out the traditional methods. It starts with the days of the week. Each day has a planetary ruler.
Right, like Monday for the moon, Tuesday for Mars.
Exactly. Tuesday from Tyr, the Norse god. Wednesday is Mercury from Woden or Odin. Thursday is Jupiter, Thor's day.
Friday is Venus, Freya's day. Saturday is Saturn, Sunday is the sun. Easy enough.
But it gets more precise. It's not just the day.
Else.
Foolish Fish explains how, in magic, the day isn't 24 hours of 60 minutes. It's divided into 12 equal parts, from sunrise to sunset.
Oh, so the hours change length depending on the time of year.
Precisely. And the very first hour of any day starting at sunrise belongs to the planet of that day.
So the first hour of Monday is a moon hour.
You got it. The first hour of Tuesday is a Mars hour, and so on.
Okay, so you can get really specific then.
Extremely. That's the beauty of it. You can tailor the timing for very specific nuances. Like, say you want a defense.
Mars energy, probably.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
But maybe you want a defense specifically for your immune system. Foolish Fish suggests you might aim for the Mars hour of Sunday.
Sun's day, Mars's hour. Interesting combination. Where do you find these hours?
Traditional texts. Things like the Greater Key of Solomon or the Golden Dawn papers list the planetary hours for each day. Gives you that precise window.
Okay, timing is critical. Got it. Now, let's talk about the fun part, the design, the symbols, the art.
The heart of it, really. And Regardie emphasizes this. Care should be taken to make it. So to represent the universal forces, that it should be in exact harmony with those you wish to attract.
The more exact the symbolism.
The easier it is to attract that force. Makes sense, right? You're creating a clear beacon.
So what kinds of symbols are we talking about?
Oh, there's a rich history here. Regardie points heavily to the Kabbalah.
The Jewish mystical tradition.
Yes. So traditionally, you'd see Hebrew words, symbols like the Tree of Life.
A diagram with the spheres.
That's the one. Also sigils those unique magical symbols and pentacles, often derived from magical squares.
What are magical squares?
Number grids, where rows, columns, and diagonals add up to the same number, often associated with planets. Plus, you see planetary and zodiacal symbols, geomantic symbols.
Geomancy, that's earth divination, right?
Yeah, designs based on those figures. Even designs developed from the 16 basic geomantic symbols. There's a whole language there.
And Regardie mentions something specific from the Golden Dawn, the rose cross.
Ah, yes, the rose on the cross. This is fascinating. It's a symbol where the 22 Hebrew letters are assigned to the petals.
How does that work?
Well, 12 single letters go to the zodiac signs, 7 double letters to the planets, and 3 mother letters to the elements air, water, fire.
And this allows for new sigils.
Exactly. An entirely new set of sigils can be created by tracing names or words on this rose diagram. It's a powerful symbolic generator.
Wow, okay. What else? Any other systems?
You could also look at the Tatvic system from the East. It gives you artistic symbols for the 5 ancient elements.
Like earth, air, fire, water.
And ether or spirit. Earth is a yellow square, air a blue circle, water a silver crescent, fire a red triangle, and ether spirit a black egg shape.
And you can make these flashing. What does that mean?
Flashing talismans. You use complementary colors like red on green or blue on orange. The idea is that the visual contrast creates an ocular flashing effect.
Like an after image.
Sort of. It's meant to stimulate the senses and impress the symbol more powerfully on the mind, making the talisman more potent.
Interesting. Can you use tarot symbols too?
Absolutely. Regardie mentions using, say, the Ace of Cups if you want a pleasure, or the Ace of Swords for spiritual help or strength.
And angelic names. You mentioned those briefly.
Right? Derived from things like zodiacal triplicities, like Chankle for the fire triplicity beginning with Aries. These names are believed to channel the specific energies of those groupings.
So symbols, letters, diagrams. What about just words? Actual inscriptions?
Traditionally, yes. Very common. Often biblical names God, angels, spirits. Usually in Hebrew, Latin, or Greek.
Regardie called this scriptural authorization, didn't he? Or commemoration.
Exactly. It's this archaic idea.
That if God helps someone in the Bible do something similar.
Then mentioning that event on your talisman implies or requests that the same aid might be repeated here and now for me.
Like his example of the engineer.
Yeah, the electrical engineer building a power station, inscribing, and God said, let there be light on a solar talisman, connecting their work to that primal act of creation.
Makes sense. But does it have to be biblical or classical?
Not according to Regardie's more modern view. He basically says, look, there's no reason why the student should be confined to the Bible or ancient languages.
So what's the key then?
If you are emotionally moved by or involved in the quotation, that's the thing.
So you could use the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita.
Or the Book of Mormon, Khalil Gibran, even Shakespeare. If it resonates deeply with you and the talisman's purpose, that emotional connection is the sole requirement.
That feels much more personal, much more accessible.
It does, and Rigardi gives that practical example to illustrate it all.
The one about tackling a somber character defect.
Yeah, and invoking joy, he describes building a water talisman using silver paper, peach watercolors.
An Ace of Cups symbol from tarot.
Right, a voice from Crowley.
Hmm.
But ecstasy be thine and joy of earth. Divine names, an angelic sigil like Gabriel traced on that golden dawn rose.
And geomantic symbols, too. It really shows how you layer these elements.
Exactly, and it brings up a crucial point he makes. Your own personally made talismans. They're likely to be more meaningful and effective.
Why is that?
Because the very act, the very attempt to gather symbols and to draw them full of itself, invests the talisman with energy and force. The effort charges it.
So the process itself is part of the magic.
Definitely. And he's very firm about one thing.
What's that?
Never leave your rough drafts lying around.
Yeah. Why not?
You should meticulously destroy and burn them. They're seen as symbols of divinity themselves and need to be treated with respect, not just tossed aside.
Right. Handle with care. Okay. So you've painstakingly designed it. You've crafted it maybe on the right day at the right hour. Now what? It's just a drawing or an object still, right?
Well, Rigardi says just making it with concentration does invest it with a good deal of force. But for beginners especially, the ancient tradition demands a further process. Without that formal charging or consecration, it's potentially just dead and inert material.
Okay, so how do you bring it to life? How do you charge it?
There are a couple of main approaches you could consider. Rigardi describes one that's more meditation-based.
Based on his middle pillar exercise.
Yes, from his book, The Art of True Healing. It involves really charging up your own aura, your own energy field, through visualization, building up energy. Then you change the color of that field in your imagination to match the element of the talisman, like blue for water.
And then?
You hold the talisman, you vibrate the relevant names or words, and the talisman gets charged inductively from your energized field.
Okay, so using your own built-up energy, what's the other method?
The second one is more elaborate. It's a full-blown ceremonial magical consecration.
Like you'd find in the Golden Dawn texts.
Exactly. Detailed in Volume 4 of the Golden Dawn. It's much more formalized.
What does that involve? Sound intense.
It is. You prepare a room, perform banishing and invoking rituals like the supreme ritual of the pentagram to clear the space and call in energy.
Right.
You invoke divine names towards the direction associated with the element east for air, south for fire, etc. Then you mentally vibrate the letters of the forces you're invoking, almost like breathing them onto the talisman.
Breathing the energy into it.
Kind of, yeah. Then you'd make specific signs over it, like the sign of the Rose and Cross. You draw a circle around it with a magical tool, make invoking pentagrams over it 5 times.
Wow. Specific steps.
Very. You repeat the letters of the astrological triplicity involved, adding AL usually. Then a formal invocation, tracing sigils from the Rose Cross diagram. It typically ends with an elemental prayer and closing rituals.
That sounds significantly more involved than the meditation method.
It definitely is. It's about creating a very potent, focused, magical field to imbue the talisman with power drawn directly from those universal forces rather than just your own energy.
Okay, so whether by meditation or full ceremony, it's charged. What's the final step? Just pocket it.
Almost. There's a crucial warning from Rigardi.
Which is?
Never perform a banishing ritual over the newly consecrated talisman.
Why not?
Because that would just decharge it. Banishing clears energy away, you see.
Ah, okay, so what do you do?
You wrapped it carefully, usually in clean white silk or linen.
Protects it physically and energetically?
That seems to be the idea. And Foolish Fish confirms, that the Golden Dawn texts contain these full consecration ceremonies, emphasizing it's a known, established process.
Right. So you've done it. Designed, timed, crafted, charged, wrapped. Now, how do you actually use it day to day?
On this point, both sources are pretty much in agreement. It's quite simple.
What's the principle?
Be close. Very close.
How close?
Rigardi advises carrying it on the person all the time, maybe wrapped in that silk in a pocket.
Why the constant contact?
He suggests the constant sensory stimulus it affords may evoke out of the unconscious depths of my psyche the latent potencies. It's a constant reminder, a constant subtle influence.
And Foolish Fish agrees.
Yeah, extends on it a bit. Suggests wearing it against the skin if possible, or just having it close by.
Like in a wallet or a pendant.
Or even, they suggest, slipped into the back of your phone case The point is its constant presence. That allows it to do its job, to continually feed that energy into your life.
So it's not something you just charge once and put on a shelf. It's meant to be integrated into your daily life.
Seems that way. The closeness keeps the connection active.
Okay. Wow. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We really have.
From, just defining what a talisman is and isn't, through the vital importance of timing.
Exploring all those symbols and words for the design.
The methods for actually charging and consecrating it, bringing it to life.
And finally, how you keep that energy working for you by keeping the talisman close. It's quite a process.
It really is. What, for you, is the most striking thing that came out of this deep dive?
For me, I think, it's how incredibly personal talismans can be. How they really bridge ancient universal ideas with very specific individual needs or desires.
That blend of old wisdom and personal resonance.
Exactly. It's not just about following old rules. It's about making those rules work for you right now.
That's a great point. So, a final thought for you listening. If you were to think about creating something like this for yourself, what kind of energy might you want to cultivate or attract more of in your life?
And following on from that, what symbol, maybe what word, or even what specific moment in time might best capture that intention for you? Something to think about.